Hey everyone, time for another Channel Futures Fast Chat. I'm Craig Galbraith, Editorial Director with Channel Futures. Pleased to be joined today by Lamont Gorman. Lamont is the Director of Service Provider Channel with Trend Micro. Lamont, good to see you again.
Nice to see you again, Craig. Been about a year since we've chatted.
It has been. So I'm excited today to talk about XDR because I want to learn all about that. But first, I figured we might as well cover the pandemic just a little bit and talk about how threat actors out there are using it as cover to initiate their attacks.
Yeah, Craig, we could spend the entire chat on this topic. For decades, we've seen threat actors leverage anything newsworthy to launch their attacks. So this is not anything new. But in my lifetime and my living memory, I should say, there hasn't been a bigger, more global event that's impacted as many people as the pandemic. So the figures don't necessarily suggest there's been an increase in cybercrime, but the scale and the extent in which cyber criminals are using this as a lure is what's unprecedented, right? Threat actors have really shifted their enterprise attack tactics. Try saying that after a few drinks. And they shifted these tactics to really take into account that they're now targeting employees at home. This is an interesting dynamic. With a distributed workforce, I should say, there's normally one or maybe two corporate devices on the home network, and everything else, the security function has no visibility and probably never will. And so even the important things like the home router, for example, these are definitely in the sights of attackers. Just imagine the things you could accomplish if you could own the home router and basically change the DNS setting. Something as simple as this opens up a whole new world of possibilities. While threat actors are always shifting their tactics, I think some MSPs have really lagged behind in shifting or evolving their mentality on cybersecurity. Historically, MSPs have seen cybersecurity as a checkbox or a set it and forget it type of service. But, recent attacks on MSPs over the last couple of years, the global pandemic, have really accelerated a major shift in mentality. Our best of breed MSPs no longer see cybersecurity as a checkbox, but a true driver of business for them. By them, elevating their cybersecurity services, it's actually allowed them to tap into new opportunities and better mitigate risk that they assume as an MSP.
All right, so let's dive a little deeper into that and talk more about the cybersecurity challenges that both MSPs and their customers are facing.
Yeah. So MSPs and their clients are facing a myriad of challenges. First and foremost, it's the stealthy and sophistication of attacks coming from all angles and all vectors. I'm sure a lot of folks watching this today have heard about the crazy story of that casino being compromised via a smart thermostat in a fish tank. That's just an example of the sophistication of attacks facing MSPs and their customers. But MSPs specifically have been especially hit hard by the staffing shortage that's hitting the entire IT industry. But I think for MSPs, there's a double whammy in that they have limited cybersecurity expertise within their staff. And so a lot of their teams are overloaded with a lot of alert noise, right? They're receiving a mixture of system events, security events. And for those frontline engineers, it's very difficult for them to know what to focus on and how to respond, for example. And then the last thing I would say as far as challenges they're seeing is too many security solutions. These point solutions really actually create security silos of information. And so this is because they're not talking to each other, but also for MSPs creates another layer of admin and frustration. And that as an MSP, you're responsible for managing all of these security solutions. So those are just some of the challenges that MSPs and their customers are facing today.
Yeah, all those options out there can be confusing. So let's talk about XDR. I set it up earlier. What is it and how does it work?
Yeah. So XDR is definitely an emerging technology. And at the highest level, it's really an extension of EDR or endpoint detection and response. As an emerging technology, the analyst firms are still kind of battling it out as it relates to industry definition. But from a trend micro perspective, XDR is extended or cross layer detection and response. XDR is all about collecting, but also more importantly, correlating information and data from various security layers beyond the endpoint.
So go into that more. How does XDR help address the security challenges that MSPs are facing today?
Yeah, one of the biggest benefits of XDR is the consolidation and correlation of threat data and telemetry from sources beyond the endpoint. This is really helping MSPs break down those security silos, right? XDR correlated models really help these overloaded teams, if you will, cut through the noise and more quickly identify critical security events for their customers. Events on their own that may seem benign, but when they're correlated, tell a whole different story. And so XDR really allows MSPs to respond more quickly and more confidently to their client security issues. So in the end, if I had to sum it up, I would say XDR is all about automating and improving the security operations for MSPs.
So peer into your crystal ball, then what does the future hold for XDR?
Well, the first thing I'll say is the EDR vendors are shifting quickly to XDR. That's definitely for sure. If they haven't done so already, they're really going to have to figure out where they're going to get this other data from these other sources. The second thing I would say is XDR is going to be the platform or the place where you as an MSP decide on the detection decisions for your customer's environment. And this is because XDR is going to have the most visibility and the most data as well. And the last thing I'll say as it relates to the future of XDR is rapidly becoming a foundation for a range of value-added services. For example, some of our service provider partners are including XDR into their managed detection and response services.
Yeah, not only that, XDR just sounds cool, doesn't it?
Yeah, anything XDR sounds cool. I'm with you on that one.
Lamont, thanks for your time today. Appreciate it working with us here on this Channel Features Fast Chat.
Thanks for having me. Take care.